Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So today we will continue to repeat some of the verses that we did yesterday. There was some technical issues with the recording. So we will again recap from verse number 5. So yesterday we discussed how Krishna, after having explained about the glory of devotional service, how it is the most confidential knowledge, Krishna goes on to explain of those people who are not having faith on Krishna. So those who are faithless, what is the result of those who are faithless? What is the destination? What Krishna says? Mrityu samsara vartmani. So they will be again falling into the repetition of birth and death. And then after having explained that, now Krishna, with a series of another 7 verses, he is going to clearly explain the position, how he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how he is creating, how he is maintaining, and how he is destroying, and performing all these activities. Still he is aloof from it. Simultaneously, also this point of achintya beda abeda tattva is seen in this series of verses by Krishna's exceptional qualities, yoga maishwaram, that is being described. So we will now begin with the text 5, which we discussed yesterday. So yesterday we saw Krishna also explains that maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina, how he has expanded, how he is controlling, but through his energies, by the diffusion of energies, Krishna is able to, although he is in one place, through the diffusion of energies, he is able to control everything. So we heard that. So Krishna also explained that everything is situated in him. Now in this verse, there is a contradiction, appears like a contradiction, that Krishna is now saying that no, that's not the case. Not everyone is situated in him. So we will see what the Lord says. Text 5. Nachamatstani bhutani pashyame yogamaishwaram bhuta bhrunnacha bhutasto mamatma bhuta bhavanaha. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. So here, Krishna now again is explaining the point that he is aloof. Although everything is resting on him, he is aloof. So that is the point being made here. And also we can understand how to understand that Krishna is able to, just in the previous verse, Krishna explained that maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarva bhutani, he said, all the living entities are in me. Now in today's verse he says, nachamatstani bhutani. He says that they do not rest in me. So how is it possible? So this is the yoga maishwar. This is the inconceivable potency of the Lord. That is possible for the Lord. And he is explaining it. We understand it that the Lord is aloof from the creation. So everything is carried out by his agencies and his energies. Okay, Srila Prabhupada in the purport is immediately giving the example of how it is not a burden for the Lord to carry this word. We will see in the commentary, Srila Prabhupada is in line with, we have discussed this before also, this Srila Prabhupada's commentary is mostly, many times we see, he is in line with Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu's commentary. So Srila Prabhupada makes the point that sometimes we see a picture of Atlas holding the globe on his shoulders. He seems to be very tired holding this great earthly planet. Such an image should not be entertained in connection with Krishna's upholding this created universe. He says that although everything is resting on him, he is aloof. The planetary systems are floating in space, and this space is the energy of the Supreme Lord. But he is different from space. He is differently situated. Although the Lord says, although they are situated on my inconceivable energy, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am aloof from them. This is the inconceivable opulence of the Lord. So this is the main point to be understood in this verse, This verse shows about the inconceivable opulence of the Lord, Yogam Aishwaram. So unless we understand this, we cannot, unless we accept this, we cannot appreciate the Lord's amazing activities, His simultaneously being present and not being present. We cannot appreciate that. So that is the point here. Also, we can understand that it is not at all a burden for the Lord to perform these activities. Yesterday we just discussed this point also, that how it is. We cannot even imagine how it is possible that such a huge planets, the entire planetary system, everything, the Lord is simply just by His spark of a splendor, He could manage everything. He could take care of the creation. He sees that everything is in place. Everything is, the sun is rising, the moon is rising, the climatic changes are happening. There is rains. Everything is so effortless for the Lord. There is no big difficulty. It does not have to do any preparation. Also, yesterday we discussed that unlike in other faith, that the Lord He created this world and then suddenly He did not know what to do. And then He had to take rest for a week. He left it for someone else to take care of it. There is no such kind of misconceptions with the Supreme Lord. So this is an important point also that we discussed, that the Supreme Lord is performing inconceivably wonderful pastimes, displaying His energy, and how everything is being done simply by His will, by His Ichcha Shakti. But when Krishna wants to do something, simply by His willing, everything is performed so perfectly that one cannot imagine how it is being done. The Lord explains this fact. Although He is the maintainer and sustainer of the entire material manifestation, He does not touch this material manifestation. Simply by His supreme will, everything is created, everything is sustained, everything is maintained, and everything is annihilated. And how this is happening? This is happening, so whenever the creation, whenever it has got to do with the creation, the Lord does not directly involve. It is just when the jivas, we are all, we become envious of the Lord, we wanted to enjoy independent of the Lord. When this desire becomes strong in us and then we want to enjoy independent of the Lord facilitates our desire. So He allows us to enjoy independent of Him. So for us to enjoy independent of the Lord, we cannot do it in the spiritual abode. There Krishna is a supreme enjoyer. So this material world is created. So then whenever the jiva shows the desire, then there is a cloud which is formed, and then the Lord as He expands, as we discussed yesterday, Krishna expands Himself into Balaram, Balaram expands himself into Adi Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and from the Adi Chaturvyuha, Sankarshana, Narayana expands, and then from that Narayana there is Dvitiya Chaturvyuha, and in the Dvitiya Chaturvyuha, the Sankarshana of the Dvitiya Chaturvyuha further expands into Mahavishnu, and then from Mahavishnu there is the expansion of Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, and from Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, Shirodaka Sai Vishnu. So as Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, the Lord enters in the universe, and then from His universe there is a navel that sprouts, and then Brahma is sitting and meditating on the top of that lotus stem. He is meditating, and then he is giving further directions regarding the management of the universe. And then also when Mahavishnu glances at Ramadevi, then that glance, he takes the form of Shambhu, and then Ramadevi, she is a shadow of Maya Devi or Durga. She is the shadow of Ramadevi. That's what the Brahma Samhita also explains. Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichanu Rupam Apiyasya Chacheshta Tesa Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So this is an important thing. This Ichanu Rupa. So she is performing, she is the, so we also hear in the 14th chapter, Aham Bijaf Pradapita. Krishna, actually, Srila Prabhupada also in the lecture, he says, actually the father and mother of in this material world, who is that? No, that is referred to Shambhu and Shiva and Parvati. So because they take the role, they play the role of the creation and then the maintenance of all. This is why it's called as Durga, means it's a fort. We are all in the jail. That's a fact. Those who want, when we want to enjoy independence of the Lord, we are under the superintendence of Durga Devi. Unless we surrender to Krishna, we will be under the control of Maya. So this is the point. So now that is the point, that Krishna doesn't touch the material energy. When it comes to the question of creation and creation, the Lord, that's why the Shambhu, it's called the Shiva Tattva. He is neither the Jiva nor the Bhagavan. He is in between. He is dealing with the material energy. And so that's you can see here Srila Prabhupada is also pointing out that just by his willing, everything is created and everything is maintained and manipulated. Sankalpa Matrani, he just desires, that's all. And everything, all energies interact and everything falls in place. Okay. So, okay, Srila Prabhupada concludes this purport with this point. Simultaneously, there is no difference between the Lord, His mind and Himself, as there is a difference between ourselves and our present material mind, because He is absolute spirit. Yeah, so we have discussed this point before also, and Srila Prabhupada also continuously repeats this, because there is such a misconception by one of the commentators, so-called commentator of the Bhagavad Gita. So he said that actually there is no need to surrender to Krishna. No, but actually Krishna, the unborn, unmanifested, unborn within. So there is nothing like, we can't, when we say Krishna, Krishna is absolute. There is no difference between his body, mind. Krishna is absolute. For us, there is difference between our body and mind, but Krishna is absolute. His body and mind, there is no difference. So that is what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here. Simultaneously, the Lord is present in everything, yet the common man cannot understand how He is also present personally. He is different from this material manifestation, yet everything is resting on Him. This is explained as Yoga Maishwaram, the mystic power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also, when we say that the Lord is spread everywhere, there is immediately the Mayavadis, what they do, they say that everything is God. They come up with this conception that everything is God. So everything you worship is also God. That you can worship some stone, you can worship some tree, anything, whatever, because everything is God. That's their philosophy. Everything is God, so I'm also God. It is their philosophy. Such a misconception. So, once I think His Holiness Bhakti-Vikas Swami Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, he said that once he was in Patna, he was for a preaching program. So he met some students there. So he was preaching to them how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God and He should be worshipped. So when he was speaking like this, suddenly one fellow came and interrupted the conversation. Why do you say Krishna is God? I am God, you are God, everyone is God, everything is God. So like that he just started blabbering. So Maharaj, at that time, there was a pig that was, when they were standing there was a pig that was moving. So you mean to say so this pig is also God? So is it okay for you to worship the pig's stool? Everything is God, according to you, everything is God. So are you ready to worship the pig's stool? He said, yes. So Maharaj was making the point that he was so stubborn that he's ready to worship pig's stool but doesn't want to accept Krishna's supremacy. So this is the stubbornness of the Jivas. Jivas do not accept. So this whole idea that everything is God, so it has to be understood properly. Everything is God, it's true. Sarvam kalau idham Brahman. Yes, everything is true, everything is God, but how do we understand it? There is God and His energies. So this is the proper understanding. And how do we, in our beginning stages, we do not see Krishna everywhere. That is why for conditioned souls, there is a proper system by which we accept the Lord's form. There is the Lord, He expands Himself into various forms. He comes in various avatars. And specifically the Archa avatar, the Lord has descended in the form of the deity. And it's an authorized way of worshipping the Supreme Lord. So we will discuss this. Srila Prabhupada discusses in further purport. In other purports we will see the discussion. Okay. So this is the main point to be understood from this verse. Okay. Okay, let's go to text 6. So now to illustrate this point that how everything is under Krishna's control, everything is depending on him, the Lord gives an example. The continued existence and functioning of all moving and non-moving entities depends on my will. The Lord gives an example. Yata akashastito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tata sarvani bhutani matstani tyupadharaya. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. So Krishna gives a beautiful analogy here. He speaks about the sky and the wind. So the wind, it is very powerful. It moves everything in this world. Wind moves everywhere, and the wind is also, it's independent. It is going everywhere, and it's moving all around, but it is within the limit of the sky. So this is the point. So now Srila Prabhupada in the purport is explaining the sky may be the biggest manifestation we can conceive. And in that sky, the wind or air is the biggest manifestation in the cosmic world. The movement of the air influences the movements of everything, but although the wind is great, it is still situated within the sky. The wind is not beyond the sky. Similarly, all the wonderful cosmic manifestations are existing by the supreme will of God. All of them are subordinate to that supreme will. As we generally say, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the supreme personality of Godhead. So now this is the point that the Lord does not interfere in the affairs in the material world. He has given independence. Well, that independence is also, we have some limits. And how does he manage the affairs in the material world? He has his agencies. He has 33 crores of demigods are there. Everybody has been delegated certain responsibilities. Well, everything happens by his will. Everything is under his control, and he has delegated. He does not personally go and then look into each and every affairs. And also we can understand that all the demigods are under his control. Yesterday also we discussed, Bhagavatam also gives this point how every demigod, the fire, the air, the controller of the fire, the air, the wind, water, everybody out of fear, they perform their activities. Here Srila Prabhupada is quoting from Taittiriya Upanishad, Yad bhishavata pavate, it is out of fear of the Supreme Lord that the wind is blowing. I'm not able to quickly recollect this. It's a beautiful verse in the third canto of the Bhagavatam where the similar verses, out of fear, every demigod is acting for the pleasure of the Lord. And also Srila Prabhupada gives a reference here from the Brahma Samhita how the sun is also is continuously doing his act, moving around and then giving light everywhere simply by the will of the Lord. He is just moving under the direction of the Lord, supreme will. Yasyagneya bhramati samprata kala chakro. That is the point. So this is the thing. So when a devotee becomes advanced, he is able to see everything in relation to Krishna's will and Krishna's control. So whenever we see the creation is amazing creation, immediately we see how Krishna is behind it. He is able to keep everything under control, and through his agencies he is doing it. So that's the point. Okay, yesterday we also discussed this point that how the Lord is able to perform this activity because he is detached. He is not attached. So he is detached, and he could still be able to control and put things in order. So okay, we will just take a look at that commentary by Baladevi Debhushani. Says, but you have said that your powers are inconceivable. Pashyame yogam aishwaram. How then can those powers remain inconceivable if they are just like common ether and wind? This is explained as follows. Ether has detachment because it is unconscious by its very nature. Among conscious beings, however, detachment does not exist anywhere except in the Lord, even though he at once contains everything and dwells in everything. This fact establishes the inconceivability of the Lord. So we can also see this one of the opulence of the Lord. That yesterday we discussed this point that the Lord has got Shad Aishwaryas. Of that, one Aishwarya is what? His vairagya. He could simultaneously be in a place and be totally detached. For us, it's very difficult. We do something even little small, we create something small, we immediately become attached and we speak about it. We cannot give up that attachment. So that is the amazing quality of the Lord. Okay, let's go to text 7. So now the acharyas are raising a question. I understand that all these things which can presently be seen are situated in you, but at the time of destruction, where will they go? It has just been stated that the maintenance of all beings takes place by the will of the Lord alone. Now the Lord speaks about the creation and destruction of all living entities. So now Krishna is going to explain how he is creating and he is engaged in the destruction. Text 7. Sarva bhutani kaunteya prakriting yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpada vishrajamyaham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. Now we can see in the 8th chapter, verses from 20 to 25, Krishna is discussing about how Lord Brahma, the duration of Lord Brahma's life, what is his day, what is his night, and what happens at the end of the day of Brahma, and what happens after Brahma's 100 years when there is a total devastation, what happens to all the living entities, how the creation takes place. So everything, Srila Prabhupada also gives a discussion. Here he gives a brief pointer to the Brahma's lifespan. He says, at the end of the millennium means at the death of Brahma, Brahma lives for 100 years and his one day is calculated at 43 billion years of our earthly years. His night is of the same duration. So his month consists of 30 such days and nights, and his year of 12 months. After 100 such years, when Brahma dies, the devastation or annihilation takes place. This means that the energy manifested by the Supreme Lord is again wound up in himself. So Srila Prabhupada gives an entire calculation in that purport. He gives how this, if you calculate the sum of the time span of the 4 yugas, then that comes to how much is that? How much is that? 8 million 64. I don't remember the numbers, but the total number, if you calculate the sum of the 4 yugas, and then that comes it comes as a duration of a day, and then there is an equal duration of the night. So if you sum of the day and the night, and then multiply it by 30 days, and then you further multiply it by 12, because by 12 you get the number, and then further you multiply it by 100. Srila Prabhupada gives a calculation. He says that this sums up to 311 trillion 40 billion years. This is the lifespan of Brahma, when you calculate from the human years. And when you just see it, we are just, oh my God, 311 trillion 40 billion years. To put it in numbers, that is difficult. And if you see the lifespan, it's so big. But if you see from the perspective of eternity, from Mahavishnu's, what is that? He's just one breathing for him. He just breathes out and then breathes in. That's how the creation happens, and then the destruction happens. It's just like a flash, just like one flash. That's it. So here Prabhupada's point out that this means that the energy manifested by the Supreme Lord is again wound up in himself. So we can see from this, we can understand one thing, that how insignificant we are. So many bodies we have been changing in the lifespan of Brahma. So now also we may, so how the Lord, one of the, here is a point is a point given by Srila Prabhupada, that Bahusyam, it is explained that just by the will of the Lord wanted this. Although I am one, I shall become many. This is the Vedic aphorism from the Chandogya Upanishad. He expands himself in this material energy, the whole cosmic manifestation again takes place. So we sa aikshata, sa asrajyata. So the Lord desires creation, and then immediately all his energies act according to his desire. and the whole creation takes place. So that is being made here. So yesterday I just read this calculation that we should be concerned how to get out of this material world. That should be our point. So okay, I'll just read it because I'll repeat this. There is no use calculating for how many years one kalpa, one duration of this cosmic manifestation is maintained, but our concern is that whether we can get out of these clutches of material nature and get into a spiritual nature and have our eternal blissful life. That is our problem. So Srila Prabhupada's lecture, November 21, 1966, on this series of verses, Bhagavad Gita 9, 7 to 10. Okay, now let's go to text 8. Prakritim swam avashtabhya vishrajami punah punah bhutagramam imam kritsnam avashang prakriter vashat. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end. So now, so Krishna is explaining that the Lord is detached. The Acharya is raising question: if you are detached, how is it that the creation is happening? How you are unchangeable by nature? How it is happening? He says, yes, under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again, and it is annihilated again and again. Krishna points out. Now, yesterday we discussed also how the Lord is performing his activity through his expansion as three Vishnus, Mahavishnu, Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, and Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu. And also we saw in our previous purpose where Srila Prabhupada is referring to the quote of Vishnus through Trini Rupani. One who understands the function of these three Vishnus, then what happens? He becomes liberated from the conditioning of this material world. He is the person who is in proper knowledge. So Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. So everything is sustained in this world because the Lord enters. Where there is the Lord, there is no place where the Lord is not there. He is there in each and every atom also. Unless the Lord is has pervaded everything, nothing exists. He is the sustaining principle. Now, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada also gives a hint about the proper perspective to the evolution. So it's not the Darwinian theory of evolution, how everything is getting transformed. There is single celled living entity, and then from that there is a tadpole, then there is a frog, then there is a fish, then there is a bigger species. Like this, there is he gives a description of the evolution according to his thoughts of speculation. He has given the idea of evolution, but according to the scriptures, which is free from all the defects, which are the direct words of the Supreme Lord, we can understand that there is a desire of the jiva, and then also whatever act he has done in his previous life, according to the karmic influence, all the vasanas are stored, and then at the time of destruction, at the time of annihilation, all the jivas they merge into the body of Mahavishnu. And again, when there is a creation, all the jivas get a specific bodies according to their previous desires. So in that way, Krishna is so perfect in his system. There is no deficiency at all. So we cannot blame the Lord also, because we had a particular desire, and Krishna satisfies those desires by giving the specific bodies. So there is 84 lakh species of bodies. These are the prototypes. According to our desire, we get a specific body. It's not that the frog gets transformed into a bigger species, or so that's the conception. So Prabhupada also used to sometimes raise a question: if there was transformation of different bodies, then those bodies, other bodies, should not have existed, isn't it? So if there are different, so there are distinct 84 lakh species. This is again another point to understand that the Darwinian theory is a big hoax. It's completely foolish actually. Okay, we can see in this purport, Srila Prabhupada specifically is pointing out that thus the activities of the material world begin. The activities of the different species of living beings are begun from the very moment of the creation. It is not that all is evolved. The different species of life are created immediately along with the universe. Men, animals, beasts, birds, everything is simultaneously created, because whatever desires the living entities had at the last annihilation are again manifested. The word avasham, that the living entities have nothing to do with this process. The state of being in their past life, in the past creation, is simply manifested again, and all this is done simply by his will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Lord. So with utter humility, we should accept the statements of the scriptures. So this is how the Lord does His creation, and we can see there is a. It's not that some story. So that's why we have to give oral reception to the message, subject matter of the Vedas. So here there is a clear description given about the creation. The Bhagavatam gives further descriptions about the creation, and it's not some kind of a story which we cook up. So whereas the proposal of the modern scientists and their ideas, it's very funny, their explanation of how everything came from nothing. There was nothing and suddenly there was a big blast and everything came into order. Doesn't make any sense at all. Anybody who is rational, it's very difficult to accept this statement. It is complete nonsense. This is the point here. Okay, Srila Prabhupada in one of the lectures is pointing out, this is God's power, this is God's power. If you have got to paint one picture, one flower, you have to take so much attention and still it may not be symmetrical. There may be some mistake. But in nature's way, you see how many flowers, fruits and so many things are coming out automatically. Foolish people, they think it is being done automatically. No, behind this thing, there is the brain of Krishna, behind everything. And because we do not see how it is being done due to our lack of knowledge, or less intelligence, we think it is being automatically done. So now this is the point, so a devotee, immediately whatever he sees in relation with Krishna. So we can see, we can also teach the children, and the worldview we can give to our children right from young age. That we see, you see the creation, it's a beautiful flower, beautiful waterfall, beautiful, and then we can immediately relate. So who is behind this creation? So otherwise we become enjoyers of this world, then we can become bound up. We see it in relationship with Krishna, and we do appreciate it when it's so wonderful to see this. But immediately we relate it with Krishna. Immediately we relate how Krishna is such an intelligent person. See, there is intelligence here. It should come from an intelligent person. Okay, here is another lecture Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. Srila Prabhupada is questioning, you cannot prove anything that this thing is automatically being done without a brain behind it. Can you give us any solitary example that any wonderful thing has happened without a brain behind it? You cannot say. You cannot give even a single example within your experience. Now, how we can say that this material nature, such wonderful things, manifestation, thousands and millions of planets, they are floating in weightlessness in the air. There is no brain behind it. You throw one mechanical Sputnik, and there are thousands of scientists working in the laboratory electronics. They are pushing on the button and everything is recorded. It is a plaything only. That Sputnik is a plaything. If for such a plaything, so many scientists, so many brain are working, do you think such wonderful things are happening without any brain? This is called foolishness. Foolish people will say that they are taking place automatically. No, they are not taking place automatically. Okay, let's go to text 9. But then, since you do so much activity, how is it that you do not get bound like the Yugas? Well, inequality in the matter of creation and maintenance will bind even you because of your acts of injustice. So now a question has been raised that how is it that you are not bound like the Jivas because you are involved with the creation? So how to understand that? And also Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu in his commentary, he is pointing out that you should definitely be bound because there is injustice, because there are different species who has got different forms. There are, they say that it's not equality. The Lord is, so there's some people accuse the Lord for that. So now Krishna gives the answer. Text 9. Nachamam tani karmani nibadhnanti dhananjaya udasina vadasinam asaktam teshu karmasu. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. So Krishna here very clearly explains what is his position. He is taking a neutral position. He is detached from this material world and he is not at all bound. And immediately Srila Prabhupada is giving a reference from Brahma Samhita. Atma Ramasya tasyasti prakrutya na samagamaha. He is always involved in his eternal blissful spiritual activities, but he has nothing to do with these material activities. So that we saw how the Lord is performing all the material activities through his agencies. He does not directly involve in all the activities. Now here in this particular verse, there is a word which needs to be made note of. Krishna says, Udasinavat. He says that the Lord is always neutral in the material activities of the created world. This neutrality mentioned here is with the word Udasinavat. Now there is a nice example Srila Prabhupada gives to explain this point. The example can be given of a high court judge sitting on his bench. By his order, so many things are happening. Someone is being hanged, someone is being put into the jail, someone is awarded a huge amount of wealth, but still he is neutral. He has nothing to do with all that gain and loss. Similarly, the Lord is always neutral, although he has his hand in every sphere of activity. So, also in the previous purport we saw, there is not even a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. But at the same time, he does not directly get involved with this. So in that way, he is detached. So Srila Prabhupada here is also referring from the Shruti Mantra, from the Vedanta Sutra. Vaishamya Nairgrigne na. He is not situated in the dualities of this material world. He is transcendental to these dualities. Nor is he attached to the criterion and creation and annihilation of this material world. The living entities take the different forms in the various species of life according to their past deeds. The Lord doesn't interfere with them. You see, this is the point. So there is no point in blaming the Lord. Whatever body we have taken, we are the cause of it. Because that was our desire. We will also see in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna explains why we are into some certain bodies. There are 84 lakh species of bodies. We may be in the body of a dog or a hog or an elephant or a lion, or in the body of a human or in the body of a devata. What is the reason for that? So very nicely Krishna explains that it is because of the kind of association that we take. Whatever association and whatever modes with which we associate, we are going to get a body, because the kind of consciousness that we develop, that consciousness is going to determine our next body. Well, Krishna already spoke about this in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram. So our smarana, whatever is our consciousness at the time of death, is going to determine our next body. And how our consciousness is molded. Our consciousness is molded according to the kind of association that we take. So this is the key point. So there is no point in blaming the Lord. So the same thing we can see in Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu's commentary. He's pointing out the same thing here. Here it is. Well, inequality in the matter of creation and maintenance will bind even you because of your acts of injustice. He says that you have acted in a wrong way. So you need to suffer for that. I guess somebody may say, then here immediately Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan is refuting it. This is not so. The inequality seen in creation and maintenance does not contaminate me with the quality of injustice. The Lord explains the reason by describing himself. Previously incurred karmas alone are the causes of different bodies, such as deva, human or animal for these jivas. I am neutral to their unequal karmas, udasinavad. Those karmas cannot attribute to me the fault of injustice, asaktam, because he is detached. The author of Vedanta says, Vaishamya nairgrinya na sapekshatvat tatahi darshayati. Lord has no partiality or cruelty, because the pleasure and pain suffered by the living beings is caused by their karmas. So the scriptures declare, since complete neutrality would forbid any sense of doership of the Lord says, as if neutral, the So this is the point. You see, we can also see many times when we see these commentaries, we can see how Srila Prabhupada, it takes many of his points we can see from Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu's commentaries. Okay, let's go to text 10. I cannot accept that you are indifferent in your acts such as creation. And this is Vishnak Thakur says this. Baladev Vidyabhushan says that being a doer and being neutral are not contradictory, because the Lord rules by proximity only. So that means what? The Lord performs all the activities through his agents. So we can also see in the Bhagavatam how the Maya Devi, or she doesn't come in front of the Lord. She is at little distance, and then from there she is performing her activities. Because Maya cannot come in front of Krishna. So this is the point. Okay. Text 10. Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So here in this verse, Krishna very clearly says, for those who say that everything is nature, nature is working its ways, what is nature, Prabhupada also many times we hear this, Prabhupada also asks these questions. There is Shakti and there is Shaktiman. So you say you just accept the energy, you can without the energy cannot appear, isn't it? There is some power. That's how some people say, I accept some power. But from where the power is coming? Power is not hanging somewhere. Power is coming from a powerful person. So that's why, we can see when some people give this argument of, nature takes care of everything. But what is this nature, This nature comes from the Supreme Personality of God. That very clearly Krishna is pointing out in this verse. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. It's not just something is happening without any reason. It's happening perfectly with proper reason. Everything is happening by the will of the Lord. Okay. Let's see what Srila Prabhupada says in the purport. So Krishna here he points out that he is the father. The father gives to the womb of the mother for the child, and similarly the Supreme Lord by his mere glance injects all the living entities into the womb of material nature, and they come out in the different forms and species according to their last desires and activities that we already discussed. And also we discussed this point that how just the Lord begins to glance, by his glance everything happens, and the creation happens by his glance. And at the same time, when this Shambhu takes the form of this glancing, and also Parvati, she is the object of that glance, and then the creation takes place. And so in that way the Lord is detached. He does not directly touch Maya. So now Prabhupada gives a very nice example, quoting from Smriti. He gives an example. This example is given in the Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person. Yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. So it's a nice analogy which gives how one experiences smell but without touching it. So similarly, the Lord is the cause of the creation, but he is not. He doesn't touch the material energy. So because of that, he is not bound by the modes. And also another, we have been consistently noticing one point, right from second chapter, third chapter, again and again one point we see in this, Krishna is pointing out, when one is not attached, he is not bound. Do you remember? We were discussing this point, because Krishna is not attached, he is not bound because of that. Already we saw this verse, Namam karmani limpanti, name karma paleshkaha, isn't it? So he is not bound by karma. And one of the reasons that is being consistently explained by the Acharyas is also Krishna is not at all attached. And also we understand that Krishna is Atmaram. He is completely satisfied in himself. Nothing external needs to satisfy him. Okay. Okay, so these are the important points in this verse. Let's go to, we will see some quotes from Prabhupada's commentary. Okay, I'll also just show you from the Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu's commentary and same analogy which is explained. Being the doer and being neutral or not contradictory, because the Lord rules by proximity only. The Smriti says, Yata Sannidhi Matrena Gandha Shobhaya Jayate. It is just like the fragrance which causes agitation by closeness. Vishnu Purana. Prakriti is dependent on my control alone. Without me, she does not have the power to do anything. In the absence of the authority of the king on his throne, his ministers do not have the power to carry out his actions. You see, the Lord is sitting inside the heart of Paramatma also, and according to the desire of the Jiva, the Lord directs the Prakriti. He is very close to the Lord. He says, oh, you know what, this person is very much interested to take the body of a dog. That's the inclination he is showing. You please arrange. And the Lord gives the direction. And then immediately Maya captures him, and then immediately she bewilders completely. He believes himself that he is the dog. So, and then he is carried away, completely trying to satisfy his desires. See, the one thing is that this is the influence of Maya. The desires in this material world, material desires can never be satisfied. We will be, again and again, we'll be cheated. Again and again, we'll be in clouds thinking that I can enjoy this world. We can never enjoy this world. This is the power of Maya. Maya makes us believe that we can enjoy this world. Immediately it covers us. There was one Russian scientist. He did an experiment. What he did? He was feeding, I'm not sure, a cat or a dog. In his experiment, he was trying to feed or rat, something. If anybody remembers, you can correct me. So, a Paulo, it's Paulo. It was a dog, okay? Yeah. So for the dog, he was feeding food. On a specific time, he will give the food to the dog, and first of all they will ring the bell, and then exactly when the bell is rung, the food will be given. So after some time, what he did, he just rang the bell. He didn't give the food, but immediately you can see the dog became super enthusiastic, and then almost saliva is coming out from its mouth, and then it is hoping that now I'm going to be satisfied. I'm going to get the food. But even before he didn't even see the food, but it is trying to enjoy. So the point is that it's something like this. Like we are, when the moment we are in different situation, we are in the material world. We are thinking that this is going to give me happiness. This situation is going to give me happiness. Now I'm in this particular stage. This is going to give me satisfaction. That is going to give me satisfaction. Nothing is going to give us satisfaction. Nothing is going to give us happiness unless we surrender our lives to Krishna. Unless we serve Krishna. The real bliss, the real happiness comes only from Krishna. Everything else is illusory happiness. We are cheated again and again. This is the work of the Maya. That's what she does. Yesterday we discussed about the Prakshepatmika and Avaranatmika. So we are covered by Maya, and then we are further pulled down. So she keeps us completely under her control. The Adhyatmika, Adhibhautika and Adhidaivika. All these three kleshas are giving us suffering. So although we are suffering, we think that there is some hope against hope, that we may have some enjoyment. So let's try, let's endeavor. So that is foolishness that we see here. So Srila Prabhupada points out in one of his lectures. So we have to understand this fact that, as Krishna says, we have to take knowledge from Krishna. We are all born fools and rascals. That is the statement of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Parabhavas tavad abodha jato yavanna jigyasata atma tattvam. Parabhava abodha jataha. We are all born fools and rascals. That is a fact. We know, therefore we are sent to schools for education because we are fools and rascals. You see here, Prabhupada continues. Unfortunately, after so-called education also, we remain fools and rascals because we do not know. There is no educational system to understand Atma Tattvam. And also, more we educated, we don't accept these conclusions of the scriptures. Krishna very systematically explains in the Bhagavad Gita how he is the cause of all the causes, how under this direction creation, maintenance and destruction is happening. And once you are educated, you completely deny it. That's the result of the education. So that's what we discussed yesterday, isn't it? That by education, one should become humble. Vidya dadati vinayam. Not that by education you become puffed up and then you deny the existence of God and you don't accept the will of the Lord and His plan behind the creation. Then we prove ourselves to be descendants of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana. That's what we show ourselves as. Yes, my great grandfathers, my ancestors we are all coming under the lineage of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana. So here is another one. Srila Prabhupada is recollecting from one of his memory. So in the human form only, the cats and dogs, they cannot understand that behind the machine there is a person who is manipulating the machine. The cats and dogs, they cannot understand. Just like a child cannot understand how an electric fan is moving. Srila Prabhupada says, in my childhood, I have several times told you, I was thinking that within the fan there is a ghost. how the fan is rotating. Maybe there is a ghost. But I was suggesting that was intelligence. There must be somebody, otherwise how it is moving. In the gramophone box, I was thinking that there is a man within this box. Those days the gramophone used to there, there used to be like kind of a disc, and then when it touches, sound used to come. Nowadays, for our current generation boys, nobody has got a clue of gramophone. There is a man within the box, he is singing. So these are intelligence. There is one story that there was one drum and the child was beating. It was sounding very loudly. So he wanted to see who is the person within the drum that is vibrating. So with a knife he cut it. So these are things, research work. It may be childish proclivities, but the tendency to find out who is the ultimate cause of everything, that is intelligence. That is called darshana. In Sanskrit it is called Bhakti-śāstra, or philosophy to find out the ultimate source. This is the intelligence. Actually science means what? You find the cause of everything. This is science. Not that you find something which is not within the purview of your limited intelligence, and immediately what do? It's called knowledge filter. Sadaputta very nicely explains that it's called knowledge. Knowledge filter means anything which is not within the purview of your knowledge, you just filter it and you throw it out. There's no discussion at all about it. This is not science. This is cheating actually. Okay, after having discussed about the opulence of the Lord, or the Yoga Aishwaram, now Krishna further explains about how some people do not accept it. So let's go to the text 11. Why do people not worship you? You have such great power. So here is the similar question is being raised. Amazing, your creation is amazing, your maintenance is amazing, the destruction, the way you destruct and everything again you bring to creation. Oh, it's amazing. When you hear it, it's so wonderful. So why do people not worship you? This is the question. So Krishna immediately answers, what is the reason for that? Text 11. Avajananti mang mudha manushing tanumashritam parang bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. So you see Krishna, again he is pointing out. In the 7th chapter also he discussed about those who are not worshippers, who are not his worshippers. Now again he is pointing out. This is a very, quite an elaborate purport with Srila Prabhupada. He discusses various misconceptions about Krishna, and also he is establishing how Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and how to think that he has descended in the human form, although he has descended in the human form, still he is the supreme personality of Godhead. That is a proper conception. So Prabhupada systematically defeats it. We will go through this purport. So Srila Prabhupada, he points out that Krishna, we should not misunderstand Krishna to be simply some powerful man. Sometimes some people think that, oh, he is a great hero. Krishna is a great hero. What is the great hero? He is the supreme personality of Godhead. The heroism, the understanding of heroism, the heroic acts, everything comes from him. So some poets, they just write some poetry about Krishna, and without understanding who is Krishna, what is his position. So they write some poetic words. Krishna is not such an ordinary person. His acts are beyond the conception of the humans. He is a superhuman acts he performs. And we will see Srila Prabhupada gives the reference. First of all, Srila Prabhupada is establishing from the scriptures how Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the controller of everyone. So that's why he is immediately referring to Brahma Samhita verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna. So when we try to understand that he is the supreme controller, that everything is under his control, we understand that he is not an ordinary person. An ordinary person cannot control everything. First of all, we cannot even control ourselves. When there is a call of nature, we need to go. He may say, I am God, I am God. Sir, God, what happened to you? No, I'll just come back in a minute. Why? To God is going, and we sometimes see the picture. Even a dog going, God, yeah. So a dog, it just came out spontaneously. Yeah. Who claims himself to be God is dog. That's the reality. So so this is the point. Material bodies. So the point is that someone who claims himself to be the supreme controller, so you are not the controller at all. You cannot control yourself. This is the point. So immediately Srila Prabhupada is establishing the point that the Lord's form is Satchit Ananda. His form is of He is transcendental, he is eternal, he is full of knowledge and full of bliss is the definition from the Brahma Samhita. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is establishing the point that if the Lord is Sachidananda, he is, and he is not an ordinary person. If he is an ordinary person, how he can perform wonderful acts which are not human? Human being cannot perform such acts. So Srila Prabhupada gives reference. So here Prabhupada takes up how some foolish people they misunderstand Krishna. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called here Manushim because he is acting just like a man, a friend of Arjuna's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. So therefore, so foolish, they said Krishna is a politician. That's how they misunderstand him. And immediately Prabhupada gives the reference from Gopal Tapani Upanishad, how the Lord's form is transcendental. Sachidananda Rupaya Krishnaya. I offer my obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the eternal, blissful form of knowledge. Again, there is a reference from the Gopal Tapani Upanishad. Tamekam Govindam. You are Govinda, the pleasure of the senses and the cows. Sachidananda Vigraham. And your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss and eternality. Again, Srila Prabhupada now he makes a point of another set of foolish people who are so-called intellectuals. They are the commentators of the Bhagavad Gita, who deride Krishna to be an ordinary person. They don't accept Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What a pity, somebody gives commentary to Bhagavad Gita and then they don't even accept Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So yesterday we read that quote, Srila Prabhupada is also pointing out that you have heard the Bhagavad Gita, you have studied the Bhagavad Gita, and what are you doing with your life? Surrender to Krishna. Give up your life in Krishna's service. That is surrender. That is proper understanding of hearing from Bhagavad Gita. If you have heard from proper bona fide source, what you will do? You will surrender your life in Krishna's service. But a person who does not even have faith that Krishna is a person, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what he will do? So that is why Srila Prabhupada is taking the example of these mundane writers who give commentaries to the Bhagavad Gita. Now Prabhupada goes on to explain in this purport that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, but what do? They deride those qualifications. Now Prabhupada goes on to explain that how the Maya is under his control. If Krishna wants, he can release us from Maya. So Maya Dhuratyaya, Krishna already explains in 7th chapter 14th verse that by surrendering to Krishna, one can become free from Maya. Otherwise, it's not possible. We cannot escape from the control of Maya. Maya captures us and keeps us under her control. Now, Srila Prabhupada raises a very nice question. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can a Supreme Lord who conducts the creation, maintenance and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature have a material body like us? So if someone has got a material body, then how can that person who is considered to be material relieve us from the material condition? It doesn't make any sense. But a person who is transcendental only can relieve us from the conditioning. Remember in that purport commentary to the chapter 4 verse 34 of Tadvidi Pranipatana, Prabhupada also gives an example. Who can relieve us from conditioning? Let's say our hands and legs are tied. So your hands and legs are also tied. Can you relieve me from my conditioned state? No. For you to relieve me, you should be free, isn't it? Then only it is possible. Similarly, so to put Krishna also into the box of conditioned person is also an ordinary human being, it's foolishness. Now, Srila Prabhupada further, he explains the glory of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Krishna is not just like an ordinary man. He can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. This is again another amazing feature of the Lord. He can control these small atoms and also the gigantic manifestation. And also the scripture says, Anor Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan. He is smaller than the smallest and the bigger than the biggest. Simultaneously it is possible. This is the glory of the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada is raising the question. The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception. So they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. All that actually is controlling the infinite and the finite is apart from all this manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his Yogam Aishwaram. So again, unless we accept this Yogam Aishwaram, we cannot understand about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Also, we in one of the commentaries to the Bhagavatam also, Srila Prabhupada very clearly points out in one place, he's quoting Srila Jiva Goswami and he says that unless we accept the Achintya Shakti of the Lord, we cannot appreciate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's very important to accept this principle. And yesterday we also heard this example, this story we heard, no? The faith that devotee has got on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How is it possible for the Lord to push the elephant through the eye of a needle? The cobbler had full faith. Yes, why not? When the Lord can, from many small seeds, so many banyan trees are sprouting. What is the big difficulty for the Lord to push the elephant through the eye of a needle? Because he has got faith in the words of the scriptures. You know? Whereas the others, the very fact when they see that how it is possible, you know, you say that God is in the spiritual world, how it can simultaneously be here also, how it is possible? Yes, it is not, it is inhuman, it is not, humanly it is not possible, but for the God it is possible. That is why he is God, that is why he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. With our tiny brain we cannot understand this, we have to accept, we need to beg for the mercy of the Lord, we need his mercy and the Lord reveals himself. That's why we cannot see the Lord by our own endeavor, unless the Lord reveals himself by the mercy of his pure devotees. Then we can appreciate the Lord and his potencies. Now again, Srila Prabhupada is here dealing with a controversy raised by the impersonalists. He is quoting from the Bhagavatam. We will see that the impersonalists quote from the Bhagavatam and then they misconstrue or they misunderstand the message of the Bhagavatam, wherein it clearly explains how Krishna is a person and how he is residing in everyone's heart as Paramatma. Now here Srila Prabhupada is quoting from the Bhagavatam, very famous verse, which shows that the Lord appears in the material world, in the human form, but we should not think himself to be an ordinary human being. Kritavan kila karmani saharamena keshava atimartyani bhagavan gura kapatamanushaha. Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead, along with Balarama, played like a human being, and so masked, he performed many superhuman acts. Now this is the point. You see, this word is very important here. Atimartyani bhagavan. He has performed superhuman acts. What are the superhuman acts of Krishna? Nobody can imitate the activities of the Supreme Lord. He lifted the Govardhana hill as a very young, small boy. He played over he danced over the Kaliya. Kaliya is not some ordinary snake, you know. It has more than several hoods, and then the poison was unimaginable poison. It was it was shedding so much poison. Even the birds cannot fly on top of it. And Krishna, as a small boy, just jumped and danced, and then he controlled Kaliya. We can just for hours and hours we can speak about Krishna's amazing activities, superhuman activities. Even Krishna is a very, very small boy. He took the life air of Putana, such a very powerful witch. So like that, there are so many leelas. We can just speak how Krishna's superhuman activities. As Krishna and Balaram, they jumped from such a how many meters was that? How many kilometers? How many miles? 80 miles. It's explained from 80 miles. Krishna and Balaram, they just jumped and nothing happened. There was no cushion or anything down. There was no problem. So there are several superhuman acts of Krishna, which clearly points out that he is not an ordinary person. So here, Prabhupada in the purport is pointing out that the Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother Vasudeva, and Devaki appeared with 4 hands, but after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. This is again, and we don't see any ordinary child being born with 4 hands. That is not, we don't see in the hospital, That's not possible. And already elaborately discussed about this point in the verse in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, how Krishna's birth is transcendental. He is performing it out of his internal potency. Here, Prabhupada is pointing out, Babuva Prakrita Shishuhu. He became just like an ordinary child, an ordinary human being. Now, here again, it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of the transcendental body. So then again we see Lord, so only he showed the 4-handed form, the Lord was showing also the universal form to Arjuna. Prabhupada immediately points out that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands. Tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena. We will see in the 11th chapter, this Bhagavad Gita, the same verse is discussed. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manusham Rupam. So these different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. He could, at his will, show so many forms. That's why Srila Prabhupada also many times used a challenge. No, you say yourself to be God. Come on, show me the universal form. you say yourself to be God. You know? Where is your Godship now? What has happened to it? Okay, this is the verse where the Mayavadis, they misquote and then they deride Krishna. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma vastitas sada. The Supreme is present in every living entity. So here our acharyas are very clearly refuting and explaining the point that how this verse should be understood. We should better take note of this particular verse from the Vaishnava acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishnak Chakravarti Thakur. Instead of following the interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse, says that Krishna in his plenary expansion as Paramatma is situated in the moving and the non-moving entities as a super soul. So any neophyte devotee who simply gives attention to the Archa Murti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities is uselessly worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. So this is the neophyte understanding. So he does not see Krishna in the heart of other living entities. He only sees the Krishna in the deity form here. That's all. This is a neophyte mentality. So, Srila Vishnak Chakravarti Thakur also points. So, the neophyte devotees gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So, Vishnak Chakravarti Thakur warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, everybody is the embodiment of the temple of the Supreme Lord. So, as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, you should similarly properly respect each and everybody in which the Paramatma dwells. So, we don't say that, you are God, I am God, everyone is God. But we see the presence of God in every living entity. He is seated as the Paramatma in the heart of the living entity. That's why, we are also, when we don't cross someone, because we know that this body is the temple of the Lord. So, we don't cross, we acknowledge the presence of Paramatma. One who is neophyte, he doesn't understand this. Now, again, there is a foolish argument, of Srila Prabhupada refutes that also. So, God is everywhere. Why we should worship Him in the temple? Prabhupada immediately raises this question and he resolves it. But if God is everywhere, is He not in the temple or in the deity? Simple logic. He is everywhere, you are saying, then come and worship Him in the temple. Although the personalists and the impersonalists will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality, is all pervading as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavana and is always staying there by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. So now this is the point, that although the Lord is seated here, he is seated in his spiritual abode, he is simultaneously, by his expansions, he is spread everywhere also. It's very clear. So, So this is the point, that this, for us, we are very fortunate enough that by getting to hear from Srila Prabhupada's books and his commentaries, it is making us very clear what is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is our position, how God and the Jiva, they are different, So this understanding is so important. So transcendental, many people speak about it's transcendental, What does this transcendental means? Transcendental means there should be clear understanding of the duality. What is the position of God? What is our position? How we are not same. So that has to be understood. Okay, there are some more discussions in the commentaries of the Acharyas. We will see some more discussions. Some more misconceptions are also clarified or refuted. Okay, here is another reference from the Vishnu Purana in Srila Vishnak Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries. it is described that his body is human in appearance. Whose body is Krishna's body is human in appearance. Yatra vatirnam Krishnakyam parang brahma narakriti. This is from the there is a reference in the Bhagavad from the Vishnu Purana, in which the Supreme Brahman called Krishna appeared with human form. The Bhagavatam says, Gudam Param Brahma Manushya Lingam. The Supreme Brahman in its secret aspect as a human form. Oh, this reminds me of one interesting Bhagavatam verse, the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, wherein it is explained like this, that the Lord, simply to facilitate his devotees, he appears in the material world out of his mercy. Anugrahaya bhaktanam manusham dehamastitah. Anugrahaya, just to give mercy to his devotees, he descends in the humanly form. Bhajate tadrishi krida yashrutva tatparo bhavet. So those who are intelligent, they understand this and then they engage in the service of the Lord. They don't deride Krishna. So this is again a nice verse from the Bhagavatam which points out this. Also statements of God assuming human form are made because of the abundance of Krishna's human-like actions. So this is another nice example. Here it is pointed out. A king, though still human because of his actions, which are like those of a deva or lion, is called a deva among humans or a lion among humans. Thus the 200 and 400 forms of Krishna are designated as human for these two reasons. So now when there is a king, powerful king, and you call him like he's like deva or he's lion-like, it doesn't mean that he's lion. You understand this example? Nice example is given. So similarly, when the Lord is compared, he's human-like, doesn't mean that he's a human being. No, he's human-like. That's the whole point. Okay, here is another refutation. Somebody may say that, oh, if someone has got many arms, then he can be called as God. So here it is. One cannot determine Krishna as supreme or human based upon having 2 or 4 hands. For instance, Kartavirya, the enemy of Parashurama, had 1,000 arms. That would be a deviation from the rule that a two-handed form is human and 4 hand makes God. Simply say 4 hands, so he is God. Sometimes they do this mundane calculation. Rather, he is stated as Vibhu Chaitanya, the supreme conscious entity, or his ability to generate and destroy universes can be used to distinguish him as God. So you got the point, right? So the point is that the Lord has got even more, so many multiple potencies, which very clearly distinguishes. He can create, he can destroy, and also sometimes we hear this example of the the yogis. The yogi has got a power; he can also expand himself, but the yogi's power is limited. But Krishna has got such a power. Simultaneously, he can perform all the activities. So if one yogi raises the hand, all the other expansions also will raise the hand. But Krishna will in 16,108 palaces. Krishna simultaneously was performing various activities. One house he was honoring prasadam, in another house he was playing with the child, another place he was. This is Krishna's powerful potency. So it was human-like, but you should not deride Krishna as an ordinary human being. That's the point. Here is another definition from Gopal Tapani Upanishad. Sat pundarika nayanam meghavam vaidhutyambaram vibhujam mauna mudradhyam vanamalinam ishwaram. This Lord eternally has eyes like lotuses, has the complexion of a cloud, cloth like lightning, 2 arms with flower garland, and with fingers in the mudra of silence. So here is a clear description how he is a person. Now we will conclude with this description. Because this statement shows that these qualities are eternal, when the Bhagavatam calls him Prakrita Shishuhu, it means that the Lord appears in his own original form as a baby, in his Swarupa, not in material form. Just as there are many colors in one Vaidurya jewel, so in the one Lord, the 200 and other forms are simultaneously present and eternal. How is it possible? That is the Yoga Ishwaram of the Lord. All the forms are present in the Lord. These are worshipped according to one's preference, imagining that these forms are created just to appease the devotees, and that they are created constantly for that purpose is hereby defeated. So now this is the point. Why there are so many forms? Anugrahaya bhaktanam anurupatma darshanam. This is the point. Simply to please the devotees, the Lord appears in several places, in various forms. He has his eternal abode. He has his eternal devotees. He is performing various pastimes. This is the supreme power of the Lord. Okay, here is one other quote from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. So So if you cannot see at night with your own endeavor, even a material thing like sun, do you think that by your own endeavor you will see God? How is it possible? And the sun reveals in the morning at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Similarly, when the sun Krishna will reveal before you, then you will understand. You cannot find out Krishna or understand Krishna by your own endeavor. Now that process is this Krishna consciousness. Okay. Now we will go to text 12. Now Krishna now here it discusses. Srila Vishnak Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out, what is the destination of those who do not accept you, Krishna, as the Lord and think that you have a human material body? Now what is the destination of those people who deride Krishna like this? Now Krishna is explaining. Mogasha moga karmano moga jnana vichetasah rakshasi masurim chaiva prakriting mohining shritaha. Those who are thus bewildered or attracted by demoniac and atheistic views, in that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Srila Prabhupada in the purport immediately is addressing the point that how there are different kinds of people and what is their destination. Now, you see, when someone doesn't accept Krishna and Krishna's instructions, then he is totally bewildered. Mogasha, Durasha, Nirasha. There are so many words that we see in the Bhagavatam and other places also. In Prahlad's teachings, what he says, Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu, Durashaya bahirarthamaninaha. You don't accept Vishnu to be the supreme, then what is your destination? Your destination is a disaster. No, you will constantly suffer in this material world, hoping for enjoyment. Bahirarthamaninaha. You will be just attracted by the external features and you will try to enjoy this world and you will only suffer. That's the point. So this is the point, So this here Krishna is also pointing out okay. Yeah, Krishna is pointing out that when people do not have faith and they deride Krishna by the influence of the external energy, they will suffer. And they have nothing, even if all their endeavors, everything will be baffled. So here Srila Prabhupada points out. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from this material entanglement will never be successful either, because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when one derides the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his success, there will be no success for him in fruitive activities as well. This is the point being made. And then someone who is trying to merge with the Lord. Therefore, here Krishna Prabhupada is further pointing out. Therefore, their mental speculations to arrive at the absolute truth being to bring them the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. Because of this misunderstanding, they come to this conclusion. With such a false conviction, they think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from this material body, there is no difference between God and himself. You may be wondering, Srila Prabhupada is repeating these discussions of how we are one. Why? It is because so much this Mayavad is so much spread. We can when we just go out and speak to people, we can see how much Mayavad is spread. You will know at the external surface you may not know. Just little bit try to scratch, then you will see how much Mayavad is there. People have this conception, about transcendental enlightenment. When just go and ask, when people speak like this, we need to be enlightened. So what does that enlightened means? Come out of the darkness. For them, everything is same, everything is one. And then how do they take the words? If you explain from the scriptures, from the Bhagavad Gita, the specific verses what Krishna speaks in the Bhagavad Gita, how do they reject that? They say that it is all just words. They just put it in another box. They just speak like these words. This is how the Mayavadis interpret everything, and then they completely spoil the real nectar of devotion. That's why That's why so much it's being condemned. Mayavadi, Krishna Aparadi, and that is being said. So they are just complete offenders to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada further points out, this attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Such atheistic and demoniac cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the indication of this verse. For such persons, cultivation of knowledge in the Vedic literature like the Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishad is always baffled. They will not be able to understand the conclusions of this also. Now, here Prabhupada is quoting, what do we do with this? They are all great offenders of Krishna. What do we do? No, we have to immediately go and then jump in Ganga. He's quoting, Yo veti bhautikam deham krishnasya paramatmanah sa sarvasmad bhahiskaryah shauta smarta vidanatah mukam tasyavalokkyapi stachenam snanamacare. We have to go and then take snanam. Where? In the Ganga. One who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all rituals and activities of the Shruti and Smriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of infection. So what do we do? So many people we are meeting every day. So maybe we can open one kunda here, Every time we meet someone who is speaking this kind of Mayavad and deriding Krishna, jump into the kunda every time. So what to do? In practically what we can do? This is what exactly the scriptures are saying. So maybe we have to bathe in the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have to jump. We have to just immerse ourselves into the chanting of the holy name. There is no other hope. Very difficult for us to jump into the Ganges because we have our mission. We have to save the lives of the people. We ourselves need to be fully convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Once Srila Prabhupada, he had a discussion with, there was some conversation with the GBC men, I think. So once he was in the middle of the conversation, he was asking, so do you believe Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So Prabhupada is emphasizing the point. So this is the point. We need to be fully convinced that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. See, the moment we are fully convinced, there is no question, there is no doubt, we will surrender ourselves. We will not give any reasons. I want to surrender, but that but word will be removed from our dictionary. Because we are conditioned, we have so many different kinds of desires. That is why we are not able to fully give ourselves to Krishna. So at least in this stage, theoretically we should accept the conclusions of the scriptures and the acharyas, and we should come forward and take shelter of Krishna, beg for his mercy, beg for the mercy of the devotees to remove all the ignorance that has clouded our mind. And for several lifetimes we have ignored Krishna. So we should take it with full heart, completely surrender to him. So Prabhupada further concludes the purport by pointing out, people jeer at Krishna because they are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of atheistic and demoniac life. Perpetually their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest region of creation. So this is what it is said. What is their situation? They will go to the darkest region of creation. They will suffer. Already Krishna gives more descriptions in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, destination of the demons. We will further discuss about it there. Now we will see the commentary of Srila Vishnak Chakravarti Thakur here. He gives another perspective also to this. Among those who cannot distinguish this truth, those who are devotees do not gain salokya, those who are karmis do not attain their material fruits, and those who are jnanis do not attain liberation. They assume the nature of rakshasas and asuras. This is their destination. They become rakshasas and asuras. This is what he says. Now, in this commentary, further he goes on to explain, what is the destination of those who do not accept you, Krishna, as the Lord and think that you have a human material body? Even if devotees are in this condition, their aspirations are in vain. Mogasha. They do not achieve salokya or whatever else they have desired. If they are karmis, they do not attain their desired results of their actions, such as swarga. You want to go to swarga? No, you will not be able to go to swarga. Moga karmanaha. If they are jnanis, they do not attain the result of knowledge, liberation. Moha jnana. Then what do they attain? They attain the nature of prakritim, of rakshasas. That is what they attain. So this is the conclusion of given by Vishnak Chakravarti Thakur. Okay, there are several quotes. I am going to give them restrict. Okay, here is one interesting one. Prabhupada is pointing out. Moha karmanaha. Moha karmanaha means fruitless, baffled. Whatever they do, they will find it frustrating. They are unhappy. Mahatma Gandhi was a great worker for national emancipation in India. In the end, he was so disgusted at the attitude of his people, he used to cover his ears to block out the noise of the thousands of people who would gather and cry. Mahatma Gandhi ki jai. The poor man could not even sleep. As soon as there was a rumor that Mahatma Gandhi is coming here, at least 5,000 people would gather and cry. Mahatma Gandhi ki jai. At the last stage of his life, he could not sleep due to this shouting. He was so disgusted that the very morning when he was assassinated, he said to his secretary, I am so disgusted, I wish to die. His very words were published in the newspaper. Now see, such a great worker, but still he was baffled. And what is typical of others? So moha karmanaha. Unless we become Krishna conscious, then all our activities will be frustrated. Moha jnanaha. Jnana means research of knowledge, philosophical speculation. Do some research work and find out whether or not Krishna is God. Then your research work will be worthwhile. But without any objective, what is the use of your research? It's like thousands of years of idle speculation. Okay, in another lecture, Prabhupada makes a point. He says that, what are we trying to do without surrendering to God? There is no life. Let us enjoy as far as possible. Squeeze out the extract of this matter. Squeezing. They don't. They are frustrated, mogasha, baffled in every respect. Squeezing to take essence of this material pleasure. They are baffled. So, this is a very important point to be understood because there is no pleasure here in this material world. Prabhupada I'm not sure, in maybe the Matchless Gift, he gives a nice example of the sugar cane. When you put sugar cane, you go to the sugar cane juice shop wala, you can see, he will just, he would have extracted the juice, and again he would have extracted the juice, and then you can see sometimes the cows come and then try to extract. Already there is nothing in that, only powder is coming out. And then you will again try to extract. That is why Prahlad also, he is pointing out, Matirna Krishne Paratasvatova, Mitobi Padyete Grihavratanam, Adanta Gobir, Vishatam Tamishram, Punash Charvita Charvananam. There is nothing to be, to get pleasure in this material world. Chewing the chew, it's same thing, again and again. There is nothing giving pleasure here. So then, so far Krishna discussed about those who do not surrender to him, but then he begins to explain what are the qualities of those personalities who surrender to him. Another 15 minutes. Then who respects you? So this is the question. Mahatmanastu mang partha daiving prakritim ashritaha bhajantyananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. So here Krishna is explaining about the great Mahatmas, the qualities of the great Mahatmas. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Now, in this purport, Prabhupada elaborates the qualities of the Mahatmas. Who is a Mahatma? It's very important for us to understand who is a Mahatma. Otherwise, we call every Tom, Dick and Harry as a Mahatma. Mahatma means what is your qualification? You are a Mahatma. You are not some ordinary Atma. So what is that Maha within you? So how to understand? So here, Srila Prabhupada systematically is discussing the first sign of a Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature. He is not acting under the influence of the modes. So immediately one thing. Let me ask you a question. So why do we at all hear from the Vedas? Why do we hear from great personalities like Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, our own founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada? Why do we hear from them? What is it so special to hear from them? Why do we hear the Vedas at all? Why do we hear from the Supreme Lord at all? Can you think? What is the reason? Why not from someone else? It's a very basic thing. You can, Their knowledge is perfect. So can you little bit pinpoint when you say their knowledge is perfect? This is the point. Thank you. Yeah, they are coming in parampara. This is the point. I was just expecting that. Yes, they are in parampara because they are hearing from the Supreme Lord himself. And the Supreme Lord is beyond any defects. So there are 4 defects that is explained in the scriptures. Brahma pramadha vipralipsa karnapata arsha vigna vakya nahi dosha Shaba. So this is the point. There is no defect in the Vakya. What Vakya? Of these great personalities. Because they are beyond the defects of illusion. They are beyond the defects of tendency to commit mistakes. Their senses are not imperfect. And they don't try to cheat anybody. So we give oral reception from them. This is the first quality of a Mahatma. Mahatma means he is not under the influence of the 3 modes. He is completely under the control of the internal energy of the Lord. So he's got the mercy of the Lord, and he can see things in right perspective. And he never looks into this world as enjoyer of this world. Everything he looks for the Lord's enjoyment. So this is a special quality of the Mahatma. So now Srila Prabhupada further points out, that is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the preliminary formula. So if the symptom is that when one has surrendered himself to the Supreme Lord and he is acting on the on that platform, then he is under the control of the Supreme Lord. So there are only two things in this world, either Krishna or Maya. So we cannot be, one leg we put on Krishna, one leg we put on Maya. Either you are in Maya or Krishna. So this is the thing. Either you can be a crow or a swan. You cannot be a duck in between. So this is the point. So that's why Srila Prabhupada also says that one who surrenders to Krishna. So this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So what is the glory of this movement? That anybody who comes and takes shelter of this process of devotional service, they were like crows, but they can become like swans. Crows turn into swans by this process of devotional service. So here Srila Prabhupada further points out, the guidance of the spiritual nature is called Daivi Prakriti, divine nature. So when one is promoted in that way, by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains to the stage of great soul, Mahatma. Okay, so this is the quality. One quality that we saw is he is in the divine nature. So another quality, what do we see of the Mahatma? The Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. Now this is another important feature to be appreciated. That his only interest is in pure devotional service. No social service, no opening hospitals, no feeding the poor. He is not interested in performing all these activities because the prime activity, the Jiva's prime activity is to engage in the unalloyed devotional service of this for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is what he has to do. So and that is required of a pure devotee. So that is why you see Srila Prabhupada was uncompromising in his efforts. He never compromised on the principles of pure devotional service. So he was very clear, and also always they glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see Srila Prabhupada, he glorified. When somebody was suggested that, Swamiji, why if you just name your society as International Society for God Consciousness, so many people will come. Prabhupada never budged. He said that, no, God is Krishna is God. So International Society for Krishna Consciousness. There was one person, I think it was in Glasgow, Prabhupada gave a lecture. Prabhupada never compromised, he never adjusted. When somebody blabbered also, this is also a sign of Mahatma. When somebody blasphemes Krishna, he cannot tolerate it. Immediately, he refutes it. So that person, Prabhupada gave 1,000 people were there, many youngsters were there in that lecture. And Prabhupada came into the hall, they were all cheering, they were all clapping. And then Prabhupada gave a very strong talk from the Bhagavad Gita. And at the end, one fellow was little arrogant, he just came and then started glorifying so many things, started blabbering many things, and finally he concluded his talk by saying, I am God. And Srila Prabhupada, there was silence. Prabhupada didn't speak anything. For a few seconds there was silence. And then Prabhupada just dismissed the whole conversation saying that, you are not God, you are dog. And then immediately there was a big applaud and everybody was appreciating Prabhupada. Prabhupada immediately dismissed his idea. This is Mahatma. But nowadays, who dares to speak like this? So many people are just blabbering so many things. So Mahatma means immediately points out that how can you speak ill of Krishna? So this is again a great sign of Mahatma. But there are so-called Mahatma who claims themselves to be God. They are Duratmas, they are not Mahatmas. They are cheaters. Okay, now Prabhupada, again another feature of the Mahatma is pointed out here. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features such as the four-armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attracted by the two-armed form of Krishna. They are not attracted to other features of Krishna, nor are they concerned with any form of a demigod or of a human being. So this is the perfect perspective of Srila Prabhupada. He is showing himself that in the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they are interested only in the two-handed form of Krishna. Whereas in the previous purport also we saw that, in some purport also we read, you think of Krishna, any forms. Prabhupada also says that. But now he is pointing out that this is also a sign of Mahatma. He is not ready to, he is interested only in the two-handed form of Krishna. They are not attracted to other features of Krishna, nor are they concerned with any form of a demigod or of a human being. They meditate only upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in the unswerving service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. So, he is the Mahatma. that not promoting some kind of a demigod worship or something. No? All gods are one, everything is one. No, this is not, this is completely improper understanding. Oh, I just missed one point in the commentary. Okay. Okay, here Prabhupada in another lecture is pointing out, the Vedic word is called Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. Being puffed up and thinking I am Brahman, I am God is another Rakshasima and is misleading. Here it is said that if you have become Brahman, you must show this in your activities by being an example. Because your spirit, you are not inactive. To become Brahman does not mean that I become inactive. In fact, I am more active because I am Brahman. Although I am contaminated with matter, I am still active. And when I am purified from matter, do you mean to say my activities stop? To become Brahman does not mean to become void. To become Brahman means having superior energy, and with superior energy we must display superior endeavor and superior authority. In the next line we read, Bhajanti Ananya Manasaha, one who has become Mahatma, fully engaged in the loving transcendental service of Krishna. This is another symptom of Mahatma, no? He is always doing something for Krishna. It is explained in the scriptures. Also, I think in one of the commentaries in the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada quotes Madhvacharya. This is one symptom of a Mahatma is that he is all the time engaged in the service of the Lord, always endeavoring. Success or no success, it doesn't matter. He is always endeavoring to please the Supreme Lord. This is a symptom of a Mahatma. Srila Prabhupada points out, this Kirtana, always chanting, glorifying, this is the beginning of Mahatma. So you come here, you chant, you become Mahatma. So this is the point. Okay, now let's see another great quality of the Mahatma. Sri Krishna continues to glorify. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha vrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So now in this verse, Krishna is pointing out, what does the Mahatma do? Mahatma is sitting in complete silence, doing meditation. He doesn't talk. He has become Mauna Bhava. If he wants to say something, he writes in the slate. Prabhupada criticized, there was one so-called Mauna Bhava. He will never speak anything, and if he wants to express something, he will write it. So there is also some expression, that's not proper Mauna. That's a cheating. But whereas in our Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada says that we work all the time and we chant the holy names of Krishna all the time. Sometimes less work, less talk, more work. So we talk more and we work more. This is what we do. So what does he do? He chants the names of Krishna. So here Prabhupada in the commentary is pointing out the qualities of the Mahatma. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. Here, in India is such a misconception we have. Mahatma means we only remember of one person. But we can see from his life, he was so much interested in politics. Mahatma Gandhi, we say Gandhi. So Mahatma is the wrong word attributed. But because why we say it's a wrong word attributed, there is no personal, we don't have anything personal against him. He's also part and parcel of Krishna. But the point is that Krishna is giving some definition about Mahatma. So we take any person, the personality matches with the definitions that Krishna is giving. So we should see Guru Sadhu Shastra. This is our pramana. Based on that, we come to any kind of conclusion. Not that by some sentiments we come to some conclusion. So this is a very important point. So here Prabhupada is pointing out, the Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. He is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. So there are some so-called big gurus. There was one guru in one Kumbh Mela was giving big talk. He was speaking about, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, how Krishna protected the Pandavas, and so many things he was speaking about Krishna's various leelas and like that. And then, okay, seems to be okay. So although some stories, but okay. But then finally at the end, there was a punching point. Then the really devotees, when they saw the talk, was completely frustrated. They wanted to punch him, actually. He said that, actually, you are God, I am God, everyone is God. You are Krishna, I am Krishna. This is a very offensive statement. This is what they say. And they say bhakti, bhakti. Yeah, you do bhakti. It's important. It's good. You begin to do with bhakti. Then later you will realize that everything is illusion. So this is very offensive. So the kirtana is not done like this by a devotee. Devotee has full conviction, full faith. He is singing for the glories to please the Lord, to please Supreme Personality of Godhead, for his pleasure. He is also happy by singing, but his first primary happiness is to see that Krishna is happy. That is why he is leading kirtan. Okay, so glorification of the Lord means you speak about the glories of the Lord, you chant the names of the Lord. Here, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam, Krishna very clearly he is pointing out. So, in the purport, Prabhupada is further pointing out. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising His holy name, His eternal form, His transcendental qualities and His uncommon pastimes. Beautiful point, no? Here, Srila Prabhupada is immediately smashing the Mayavadis. So what is it that you glorify? You have to glorify someone, you speak about his attributes, you speak about his various activities, you chant his name, then that means he's the person. Otherwise, how is this possible? Nowadays in the modern days, so many crazy ideas are there. So what is the idea? They try to meditate on the, they try to hear the sound of the clapping of one hand. Try practicing. What is it that you may? You try meditating on that, after some time you will start to sleep. No, you will not hear the sound. So all these ideas. So Prabhupada is immediately smashing here. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. The Brahmajyoti is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. Yeah, in the next verse we are going to see who are the impersonal worshippers. Okay. So here we say Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. So here also we will see in the commentary, the Acharyas are also pointing out that Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridhavrataha Namasyantascha Mam Bhaktya. The word is used. Cha also means, so it's Kirtayanto Mam, not only the 9 angas of devotional service is also included in that. The chanting, he's hearing about Krishna, he's remembering about Krishna, Atma Nivedanam, Pada Sevanam, everything is included. So the primary aspect of it is the chanting of the holy names, which also rests on Shravanam. So in the purport you can see Prabhupada is speaking about that is devotion, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, and like that Prabhupada is pointing out. Now, how does he perform his activity? Endeavoring with great determination. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the 5 transcendental rasas. So what is the determination he has got? So he is determined to follow the instructions given by the Lord. This is the difference between a devotee and non-devotee. No, he is ready to follow the vows that he has taken. He follows Ekadasi, he follows the 4 regulative principles on the days of Krishna's appearance days and the Acharya's appearance days. He is ready to fast for the pleasure of the Lord, because these are all the seating places of bhakti. So this is what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his songs also is pointing out. These are the birthplace of bhakti. The Shuddha Bhakti song, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is pointing out. That's why a devotee with great care and attention, he engages in performing his activities, so that he will develop his love for simply to please the Lord. He is fasting. Otherwise, there is no other inclination. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. Now, in the concluding, the purport, Prabhupada is pointing out how to become a Mahatma. Very simple process Prabhupada is giving. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life and devotional service guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari, in any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become actually Mahatma or a great soul. So, one can become a Mahatma or a great soul simply by chanting the names of Krishna. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Simply by chanting the names of Krishna, one can develop, in the association of devotees, one can become a Mahatma. So this is the power of pure devotional service. Immediately it puts us into the names of Krishna is so potent. So when one chants, he is purified of all his anarthas, and he immediately rises to the perfection, platform of perfection. So here, Srila Vishnak Chakravarti in his commentary is pointing out, they worship always Satatam, not as in Karma Yoga, which is dependent on suitable time, place, person and purity for its execution. They don't see the time is 24 hours, any time, any place. Na desha niyamas tatra, na kala niyamas tata, na uchishtado nishedosti, Sri Harer namni lubdhaka. For one eager for the name of Hari, there are no restrictions of time, place or impurity. Here is another nice point he's making. Just as poor householders strive for money at the door of a wealthy man in order to support their families, my devotees seek out the assembly of devotees in order to obtain devotional processes like chanting. Attaining that, they repeatedly recite the scriptures teaching bhakti. They have strict rules for themselves, dhradavrataha, thinking, I must do this number of rounds of chanting, this many obeisances, this much service. They offer their obeisances. The word cha indicates that they perform all other processes of bhakti, such as hearing and chanting and serving the lotus feet, which we already discussed. So there is a rule that desire can be expressed by the past tense. Okay, these are some technical things. Okay, here is the last one more point from Baladevi Debhushan's commentary. Going to temples, housing my forms, they fall down like rods on the dusty earth, full of devotion. Mam namasyantaha bhaktya. The expression singing my glories, they worship me, means that the processes such as singing about me or worship me. So this is the thing. So also we just see when we come to the temple, we first of all we offer our obeisances, properly full dandavat, ashtanga pranam we do to the acharya and then to the deities. In that way we please the Supreme Lord. So these are all the symptoms of the pure devotee of the Lord. Okay, I'll just conclude with one quote from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. Bhajanti means he is always engaged in my service. That is Mahatma. Laziness is not bhakti. That there must be activity. If somebody says, I will chant sitting down, who will notice? I will doze and people will think I am chanting. This kind of cheating will not do. For those who are interested in Krishna consciousness, it is clearly stated that they should chant 16 rounds every day. You are not Haridas Thakur. You are not able to chant all day and all night. Although it is a lofty ideal, it is something which at present you cannot do. 16 rounds of japa is the minimum requirement and that takes no more than 2 hours. That leaves 22 hours to spend in Krishna's service. That is required for progress in Krishna consciousness. This is upasate. The work is there for you. Just like Arjuna, fighting is his duty. That is also Krishna consciousness. Yudhyasya mam anusmara. Krishna said, you chant, you remember me. At the same time fight. Yudhyasya mam anusmara. He did not say simply fight or simply chant. Because in the material world that is not possible. Therefore, we must chant and at the same time we have to work to continue this movement. The movement requires a lot of energy. When once Srila Prabhupada, one devotee said that now I have done a lot of service, now I am going to retire. Prabhupada said that you may retire but I cannot. Work now, samadhi later. That is the movement. So we need to understand this principle and we should engage in the service of the Lord and we should. So this is our movement. Our movement is helping everyone by distributing this holy name, by giving everyone an opportunity to become Mahatmas. So we will stop here. Maybe I can take a question. One question, if anybody has got a question or a comment. Yes?
Pure devotees, they are especially attracted to the two forms, forms of Lord. But we see that in the Sampradayas also there are
Okay.
who are attracted to other forms, Vishnu.
Yes. So what is the understanding? Yeah, so the question is that here Prabhupada is pointing about that devotees, Mahatma is very much absorbed in the two-handed form of the Lord. So whereas in other sampradayas there are other forms of the Lord. So as we very much while discussing the commentary we spoke, but here Srila Prabhupada specifically pointing out the standpoint of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and also we understand that there are different rasas, and in the other form of the Lord there is Aishwarya Jnana, so there is a tinge of Aishwarya in that, but then with respect to the two-handed form of the Lord, the sweetness is more, so it's on the higher rasa. But from the tattva point of view, there is no difference. So that is the understanding, and we will discuss more about it when we discuss in the 11th chapter when Arjuna requested the Lord to show the Saumya Rupa. We will discuss more on that. Just to conclude at the last, there is one interesting commentary of Sripad Madhvacharya I just wanted to discuss, which is giving a great warning of how we should be very careful not to be offenders of the Supreme Lord or his devotees. So he points out that the Supreme Lord, when somebody derides the Supreme Lord, he offends the Supreme Lord, that is the greatest offense, and also offending the devotees of the Lord. Both are condemned heavily. So he goes on to say, he makes a point that what a sin it is. It is even more sinful than a person. Not even the slayer of the countless embryos will be equal in sin to the worst of men who harbors hatred towards God. Can you imagine how sinful it is to offend the so I was just completely stuck. So this is from reference from Sripad Madhvacharya. He gives a reference from Shandilya Shaka of Samaveda. So this is the reference from that. So we have to be very careful not to be duratmas by offending the Lord, not to be mudas. Better we should take shelter of the pure devotees, and we should follow in the footsteps of the pure devotees and engage in chanting and glorifying the Lord. Thank you very much. Sorry for the extended class because we yesterday lost some time because of technical difficulties. We will continue from verses 15 to 25 tomorrow. Please go through the next 10 verses. And if you have any questions, please send it in the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.